Yes, my dear students, again with the second part of class 7 lesson 1. Previously we have learned about class 7 lesson 1 part 1 concept of million, billion, trillion, and now we are going to continue about the concepts of books. The autobiography, the person writes. Biography, one who sees can write. But history, when there was no man, how could I write? Could we know about the past history when men were not there? How can we describe? How is it possible? How is it possible to explain the stories when there was no person to write? That's the concept, that's the history. Not fairy tale but real stories about the dinosaurs, about archaeopteryx, we know from fossils. In this way we have to learn and study science and study rocks to know about that. Let's continue. Unit 2. You read history in books, but in old times when man did not exist, surely no books could have been written. How then can we find out what happened then? No men were there. How can we explain? We cannot merely sit down and imagine everything. The facts must not be imagined. This would be very interesting, for we could imagine anything we wanted to and would thus make up the most beautiful fairy tales. But not fairy tales, not imaginary tales, the facts, reality of the earth, the sun, we have to know. But this need not to be true. Fairy tales are not true, as it would not be based on any facts that we had seen. But although we have no books written those far off days, fortunately we have some things which tell us a great deal, as well almost as a book would. We have rocks and mountains and seas and stars and rivers and desert and fossil of old animals. Fairy tales are imaginary tales, but Book of Earth is real book. Who are the writers? Who are the proofs? The proofs are, why are the Book of Earth facts are true, fairy tales are false, imaginary, but Book of Earth is true. With the help of rocks, mountains, seas, stars, rivers, desert, fossils of old animals. Clear? Earth book is true, fairy tale is not true. And these and other like things are our books for the earth's early story. And the real way to understand this story is not merely to read about it in other people's book, but to go on the books of nature itself. You will, I hope, soon begin to learn how to read this story from the rocks and mountains. Imagine how fascinating it is. What an interesting way. I know the alphabet of Hindi, then can read the story in Hindi. I know the alphabet of Bengali or English, then read Bengali or English stories. But if I know the language of rocks, language of fossils, then I can myself study the story of earth. That's very fascinating, interesting. Now, second chapter of Unit 2. Very little stone that you see lying in the road or on the mountain side may be a little page in nature's book, a little stone, maybe a nature's book's part, and may be able to tell you something if you only know how to read it. To be able to read any language, Hindi or Urdu or English, you have to learn its alphabet. So nature's book, you have to learn the alphabet of nature. alphabet. So also you must learn the alphabet of nature before you can read her story in her books of stones and rocks. Language of stones and rocks, you can study nature book. Even now perhaps you know a little how it read this. If you see a little round shiny pebble, smooth pebble, does it tell you something? Near your river you can see a pebble, round shaped pebble. The pebble will tell you, I am coming from the high source of the river and flowing down and worn out my rough surface, I become round and smooth. This way. How did it get round and smooth and shiny without any corners or rough edge? If you break big rock into small bits, each bit is rough and has corners and rough edges. It is not at all like a round smooth pebble. Big rock broken. The edges are rough. How then did the pebbles become so round and smooth and shiny? It will tell you its story if you have good eyes to see and ear to hear it. It tells you that once upon a time, it may be long ago, it was a bit of rock just like the bit you may break from a big rock or stone with plenty of edges and corners. Probably it rested on some mountainside. The rock was resting in the mountainside. The flowing river thrust it and rounded it and worn it out through its space. And all the while it rolled at the bottom of the river and its edges were worn away and its rough surface made smooth and shiny. So it became pebble. That you see, somehow the river left it behind and you find it. The rock is flowed by the river and on the way of flowing it became pebble, and the pebble is sided on the river side and we can see this pebble from the mountain. Actually this pebble was a big part of a mountain. River carried it on. It would have some smaller and smaller till at least it smaller and smaller rock became smaller and smaller and smaller. At least it became a grain of sand. On the seashore we can see sand. The sand will tell you, previously I was rock, then my friends became pebble and they are sided. Which pebbles were not sided? They came to the seashore and now we are sand, and join its brothers and seaside and make the beautiful beach. The little children can play, make castle out of sand. We are making castle in the playful way, but the castle was actually a big rock. If a little pebble can tell you so much, how much more could learn from a rock and mountain and many things we see around us? How interesting story. A little rock, a small sand, a pebble can tell you thus famous interesting story. So how much stories could be from the nature's words like rocks, forests, mountains, fossils, etc. Now few important questions that would cover whole the second unit. So previously number 9, now number 10. Which are the things around us that tell us about the earth's early tales? Which things tells? Which things are the documents? Mountain, rocks, streams, seas, deserts, fossils, etc. Number 11. Why does a pebble have a smooth surface? Pebble is a part of a rock. The surface are not smooth, but why it is smooth? Because it is It has worn out its edges. Number 12. How does a pebble become a grain of sand? On the flowing and running and rolling way, it broken into the parts and become a part of a sand. Number 13. What does the author mean by the great book of nature? Answer: as a book contains some pages and teacher teaches us lesson, so nature has pages such as hills, rivers, etc. So we have to go through all the natural elements to read the book of nature. Thank you. Please practice much and read the text carefully. Goodbye.